I always thought I'd know the signs. I mean, we hear about these things, right? Cheating. Affairs. Dirty little secrets hidden in plain sight. But you never think it's going to be your wife. Not your Emily. Her name still burns in my mind like acid on skin. Emily. My wife of 9 years. The woman I thought was my partner, my anchor in the storm. Turns out she was the storm itself. It started on a regular Wednesday. I got home a bit earlier from work. The construction site shut down early because of some permit delays. I was tired, grimy, and all I wanted was a shower and a beer. Emily wasn't home, but that wasn't unusual. She'd been working late a lot these days. At first, I believed her. She was a graphic designer, tight deadlines, demanding clients, sure. But lately, it felt off. Too many late nights. Too many moments where her phone would light up and she'd flip it face down like it was some classified government file. That day, I wasn't looking for trouble. Honest to God, I wasn't. But her laptop was open on the kitchen counter. Something about it, call it gut instinct, call it paranoia, call it whatever you want, it pulled me toward it like a magnet. Her messages were open. Stupid, careless Emily. She must have thought I'd never dare snoop. And there it was. A thread with some guy named Dylan. The name alone felt like a punch to the gut. But what really tore me apart were the words. Last night was insane. You make me feel alive in ways my husband never could. Alive. Alive. I swear my hands trembled like a jackhammer. My vision blurred and my chest felt like it was about to cave in. But I kept reading like a man possessed. She even sent him pictures. Nothing too explicit but suggestive enough to leave no room for doubt. Her lips, slightly parted, eyes heavy with want, wearing that red silk robe I'd bought her for our anniversary, the same robe she claimed she never liked. And then, the kicker. If he ever finds out, I'll just suggest an open marriage. He's too spineless to say no. Those words felt like she'd reached into my chest and ripped my heart out with her bare hands. Spineless? Is that what she thought of me? After all the years of breaking my back to give her a good life? After the sacrifices, the overtime, the anniversaries where I went above and beyond to make her feel loved? No. Hell no. I snapped a photo of the conversation with my phone. Evidence. My pulse thundered in my ears, my breathing shallow and rapid. I slammed the laptop shut, feeling a violent mix of rage and heartbreak surge through me. Just then, as if scripted by the devil himself, Emily walked through the door, all smiles and fake sweetness. She carried a grocery bag in one hand and her phone in the other. Her eyes met mine, and for a split second, I saw something flicker. Guilt? Panic? Maybe just annoyance that I was home early. Hey, babe, she chirped like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't just wrecked my entire world. I wanted to explode right then and there. My fists clenched so tight my knuckles turned white. But I played it cool. Not because I wanted to, but because I needed answers. I needed to hear her lies straight from her treacherous mouth. Emily, I said, my voice low, strained, like I was holding back a dam ready to burst. We need to talk. She tilted her head, feigning innocence. About what? I swallowed the lump in my throat. About Dylan. Her face froze. Just for a fraction of a second. But it was enough. The mask slipped and I saw the venom beneath. Oh, she said casually, setting the groceries on the counter. So you went snooping. Not even a hint of remorse. Not even a sliver of shame. She didn't deny it. She didn't panic. She acted like I was the problem for finding out. I could feel my heart crumbling piece by piece. But I wasn't going to let her see me fall. Not yet. Who is he, Emily? I demanded, my voice rising. How long has this been going on? She gave me a smirk so cold it could freeze hell itself. Does it matter, Nathan? She sneered. Maybe if you were less boring in bed, I wouldn't need Dylan. Her words sliced through me like a razor. And just like that, I knew this was war, not even a hint of shame in her tone. Just cold, sharp disdain, like I was the one who had betrayed her. She crossed her arms, leaning against the counter like this was some petty argument about forgetting to take out the trash, not the destruction of our marriage. My chest tightened, fury and heartbreak twisting together until I could barely breathe. Don't play games with me, Emily, I snapped, my voice rough with barely contained rage. How long has this been going on? She had the audacity to roll her eyes. Does it matter? That answer. That smug, dismissive answer made something inside me snap. My hands trembled at my sides and I felt the sharp sting of my nails digging into my palms. Of course it matters. I barked, my voice echoing off the kitchen walls. You're my wife, damn it. I deserve the truth. She laughed. Actually laughed. A short, bitter sound that made my skin crawl. Your wife? Oh, please, she scoffed, shaking her head. You've been more like my roommate for the past 2 years. My stomach twisted into a knot. I had no words. No comeback sharp enough to match the blade she had just buried in my chest. Roommate? That's what she thought of me? After all the times I stayed up late to comfort her when she cried over work stress? After every moment I thought we were building something real? I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. You lied to me, I said, my voice low and dangerous. Every single day you lied to me. And you were planning to push this open marriage nonsense on me just to keep your affair alive. She shrugged like it was no big deal. I was going to give you an out. You should be grateful. Grateful. Grateful that my wife wanted to parade her lover around in front of me under the disgusting pretense of honesty? My heart thundered in my chest, pure fury pumping through my veins like gasoline ready to ignite. I gave you everything, Emily, I growled. I sacrificed for you. I worked my fingers to the bone so you could have the life you wanted. And this is how you repay me. She sighed as if I were the one inconveniencing her and pushed past me toward the fridge. You're being dramatic, she said, pulling out a bottle of wine. She didn't even bother with a glass, just twisted the cap and took a swig straight from the bottle. It was just a bit of fun. A bit of fun? My voice cracked, my breath catching in my throat. You destroyed our marriage for a bit of fun? Her eyes finally met mine, sharp and icy. Maybe if you weren't so boring, she said, each word like a dagger, I wouldn't have needed to find excitement elsewhere. My vision blurred with rage. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to wipe that smug look off her face. But instead, I forced myself to breathe, slow and controlled. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me completely fall apart. Without breaking eye contact, I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshot. This, I said, my voice tight as a wire, is going to every single person you know if you don't come clean right now. No lies. No games. She smirked, unfazed. Send it, she dared. See if I care. And in that moment, I realized something bone deep and soul-shattering. She really, truly didn't care. Not about me. Not about our marriage. Not about the life we had built together over nearly a decade. It was all ashes to her. The woman I thought I loved was gone. Or maybe she had never been there to begin with. My hands felt ice cold as I lowered the phone. My heart pounded against my ribs like it wanted to break free from my chest and escape this nightmare. Pack your things, I said, my voice barely above a whisper but laced with finality. Get out. Her eyes narrowed, and for the first time I saw a flicker of something, maybe fear, maybe annoyance. You're kicking me out? You don't live here anymore, I said, each word slow and deliberate. Not as my wife. Not as anything. Her jaw tightened, but she didn't move. Not yet. And I knew this was only the beginning. The storm was far from over. This was war. And I wasn't going down quietly. She stood there for a moment, frozen, as if she couldn't believe I had the audacity to finally stand up to her. For once, the arrogant mask slipped just enough to reveal a flash of uncertainty in her eyes. But it vanished as quickly as it appeared, replaced by that same venomous smirk that had been haunting me all evening. Fine, she spat, slamming the wine bottle down on the counter hard enough that it sloshed over the rim. But don't think for a second this is over. The threat in her voice was unmistakable, but it only made my resolve harden. I didn't flinch, didn't back down. I stared her down like she was a stranger trespassing in my home. Because that's what she was now, a stranger. No, worse. An enemy. She stormed past me, her shoulder bumping mine intentionally, and stomped up the stairs to the bedroom. I heard drawers yanked open, closet doors crashing against the walls. The sound of her packing wasn't fast or quiet, it was violent, furious. She wanted me to know she was angry. She wanted to make a scene. Good. Let her burn the bridge herself. I leaned against the counter, my breath shaky, my heart still hammering in my chest. My whole world felt like it was collapsing in slow motion around me, but I forced myself to stay rooted, to stay strong. I wouldn't crumble in front of her. Not now. Not ever again. As I stood there, my eyes drifted to the wedding photo still sitting on the shelf across the room. The two of us, beaming with joy, full of hope and promises for the future. I walked over, picked it up, and stared at it for a long, bitter moment. What a cruel joke life had played on me. Without hesitation, I threw the frame down onto the floor, watching as the glass shattered into jagged shards that glittered under the kitchen lights. The sound was strangely satisfying, like a final, definitive end to the illusion I had been living in. Upstairs, her voice rang out, sharp and dripping with malice. You're going to regret this. I didn't answer. I didn't give her the satisfaction of a response. Instead, I went to the living room, grabbed the spare suitcase from the closet, the one she used for her so-called business trips that I now knew were little more than excuses to meet with him, and brought it upstairs. I tossed it onto the bed beside her where she was stuffing her clothes into a duffel bag like she was trying to strangle it. Here, I said coldly. You'll need this. She glared at me, her eyes full of contempt. You think you're going to move on from this? From me? I know I will, I replied, my voice like steel. She scoffed, zipping the bag up with a harsh motion. You're pathetic. Always have been. And yet, as she slung the bag over her shoulder and pushed past me, I saw the tremble in her hands. For all her bravado, all her venom, there was a crack in her armor. She might have won the battles in the shadows, but I was winning the war in the open. She stopped at the door, hesitating. Her eyes scanned the room one last time, as if she expected me to break, to beg her to stay. I didn't. Without a word, she walked out. The sound of the front door slamming shut behind her felt like the first breath of clean air I'd taken in months. Silence settled over the house. Heavy. But it wasn't the suffocating silence of betrayal anymore, it was the calm that follows a storm. I stood there, unmoving, for what felt like an eternity. Part of me expected her to come back, to pound on the door, to scream and cry and try to twist my heart one last time. But she didn't. And slowly, I let out the breath I'd been holding. My eyes burned, not just from the anger, but from everything, the loss, the humiliation, the bitter sting of wasted years. But beneath it all, something unexpected stirred. Relief. It was raw and painful, like breathing through broken ribs, but it was there. Real. I was free. For the first time in what felt like forever, I was free from her lies, her manipulations, her poison. The road ahead would be hard, no doubt about it. But it would be my road, not one she paved with deceit. And as I stood there in the ruins of what used to be my life, a dark determination sparked in my chest. This wasn't the end. Not by a long shot. The road ahead would be long, filled with debris from the wreckage she left behind, but at least it was mine to walk now. Step by step, even if I had to crawl at first, it would be mine. The quiet of the house felt different now. Not hollow, not empty, just quiet. Pure. Untainted by her noise, her deceit, her constant shadow games. I took a deep breath, letting the stillness settle into my bones like armor. Let her think I'd crumble. Let her believe she still held power over me. She was wrong. So wrong. I walked back into the bedroom, eyeing the half-packed drawers she'd torn apart in her fury. Clothes still dangled over the edges as if they, too, were desperate to flee. My gaze landed on a silk scarf, the same one I'd seen in photos with her affair partner, though she'd always sworn it was just a coincidence. Lies layered upon lies. I picked it up, turning it over in my hands, before tossing it into the trash where it belonged. It wasn't just about cleaning the house. It was about cleansing my life. As if on cue, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. For a brief moment, a twisted part of me wondered if it was her already crawling back with some manipulative excuse or crocodile tears. But no, it was a message from my friend, Mark. Heard what happened. I'm here if you need anything, brother. Short. Direct. Solid. A flicker of something warm kindled in my chest. Support. Not pity, genuine support. Maybe, just maybe, I wasn't as alone in this as I felt. I typed back quickly. Appreciate you, Mark. Might take you up on that soon. Sliding the phone into my pocket, I turned back to the house. My home. It was time to reclaim it, piece by piece. I went through every room, every corner, every space that had been tainted by her presence. I opened windows to let in the night air, fresh and crisp against the stale remnants of deceit. As I moved through the living room, my eyes fell on the drawer beneath the TV. I hesitated for a beat, then pulled it open. There it was, the hidden burner phone I'd found days earlier, the one filled with unsent messages to him, pictures I could never unsee, fantasies scribbled out like drafts of a love story that didn't include me. My hand hovered over it. For a moment, I thought about smashing it, burning it, erasing every trace of her filth. But no. Not yet. Not until I had every last piece of leverage I needed. I dropped it into a small lockbox instead. Evidence. If she thought she could come back and play the victim, she was in for a cruel awakening. The truth was no longer buried in her shallow grave of lies, it was in my hands now. An unexpected laugh escaped me. Dry. Sharp. It felt strange, but not unwelcome. Like the first crack in ice after a long, brutal winter. The weight on my chest began to lighten. Not completely, not yet, but enough to breathe. Enough to think clearly for the first time in weeks. I sat on the edge of the couch, elbows on my knees, staring at the front door. She was gone. Really gone. And with her absence came clarity, like fog lifting from a battlefield. I could see, finally, where I stood amid the wreckage. I thought about everything I had sacrificed for her. The trust. The loyalty. The blind devotion. I thought about the nights spent waiting up for her, worrying about her safety, her well-being, all while she was out desecrating the vows we had made. A cold, steady fire ignited in my chest. This wasn't just betrayal. It was war. And I wasn't finished yet. The next steps would be deliberate. Strategic. I wouldn't let anger make me sloppy. No, I would turn every ounce of pain into purpose. Every wound into a weapon. She wanted a game? Fine. But she forgot one crucial thing. I know her better than anyone. I know her weaknesses, her fears, her pressure points. She played her hand too soon, too arrogantly. Now it was my turn. I rose from the couch, my posture straighter, my mind sharper than it had been in months. No more second-guessing. No more hesitation. The old version of me, the one she could manipulate, guilt, and gaslight, was dead. What remained was something far more dangerous. And I would make sure she regretted ever underestimating me. Plans were forming fast, clear as daylight. I would not just survive this. I would rise from it. And I would make sure she felt every ounce of the damage she had tried to inflict on me. I stepped into the kitchen where her favorite mug still sat by the sink. The same one she used every morning as if her life was so innocent, so routine, while she was playing a double life behind my back. My fingers closed around it, feeling the smooth ceramic, then without a second thought, I let it fall to the floor. It shattered into jagged pieces. Just like the illusion of our marriage. Good. Let it all break. My phone buzzed again, pulling me from my thoughts. Another message, this time from my lawyer. Documents are ready. Call when you're free. Perfect timing. I smirked, the bitterness fading, replaced by something that almost felt like satisfaction. She thought she'd twist me up in knots, leave me drowning in confusion, desperate for her crumbs of explanation. But no. I was steps ahead now. I dialed immediately. Good evening, my lawyer answered. Calm. Professional. Exactly what I needed. Evening, I replied, voice steady. Let's finish this. We went over everything, every clause, every detail, making sure she wouldn't be able to squeeze a penny more than she deserved, which was exactly nothing. Ironclad prenup. Her endless parade of proof against herself. Her open mockery of our vows. She'd underestimated me, thinking I'd crumble, that I'd beg her to stay, to explain, to soothe my wounds. But she forgot, when you push a good man too far, you don't get weakness. You get resolve. You get fury sharpened into focus. When the call ended, I felt lighter. There was still a mountain to climb, but now I could see the summit. Night had fully settled outside, cloaking the house in quiet darkness. I didn't turn on the lights. I liked it this way. The shadows felt honest, at least. Unlike her. As I moved through the hallway, memories flickered in my mind like ghosts. Laughter that had once filled these walls. Whispered promises in the dead of night. Her eyes, once full of what I thought was love, now exposed as nothing but well-practiced lies. I let those ghosts follow me. Let them watch as I packed away the remnants of her. One by one, I stripped the house of her presence, the framed photos that once sat proudly on shelves, now face down in boxes marked for trash. The clothes she left hanging in our closet, yanked from hangers and stuffed into black bags, waiting for the curb. With every item removed, I felt stronger. Cleaner. Like I was peeling off layers of her poison, scraping her deceit from the walls of my life. And then, as if fate had a sense of timing, my phone rang. Not a message this time. A call. Her name flashed on the screen. For a heartbeat, I just stared at it. The gall. The absolute nerve. What did she expect? An open door? A tearful reconciliation? I answered. Not because I wanted to hear her lies, but because I wanted her to hear something loud and clear. Her voice crackled through the line, sweet and syrupy. Can we talk? I let silence answer her for a long, deliberate moment. Then, cold as ice, I spoke. No. We're done talking. Her breath hitched, caught off guard by my steel. Please, just listen. It's not what you think. Not what I think. I almost laughed. Almost? It's exactly what I think, I replied, my tone sharp as broken glass. And soon, it'll be exactly what you regret. Before she could spill another word, I ended the call. Cut her off like she deserved. Blocked the number. Erased it from my phone like she'd erased herself from my life. I exhaled, a long, cleansing breath, and felt the weight lift a little more. This was not the end. No. This was the beginning of something new. Something stronger. She thought she could destroy me. But she only awakened a part of me I didn't even know existed. And she would soon learn, in ways she never saw coming, that I wasn't the one to be played. Not anymore. Not ever again. Morning sunlight crept through the blinds, casting harsh lines across the now bare walls. I hadn't slept, not even a minute. But I didn't feel tired. I felt something deeper, something burning under my skin, a restless energy that refused to let me slow down. The house, stripped of her influence, felt unfamiliar but liberating. Like a skin I had shed, leaving behind the rot underneath. Every step I took felt lighter, freer. My phone, now free from her number, was already filled with messages from friends, from family. Some of them had probably heard rumors. Others were just checking in, sensing something off in the air. I ignored them all. I wasn't ready to let anyone in, not yet. This war wasn't over. Not until she faced the storm she had summoned. I poured myself a cup of black coffee, the bitterness fitting the mood perfectly. As I sipped, my eyes drifted to the documents waiting on the counter. Divorce papers. Clean, precise, final. Her signature was all that was missing, and I knew it wouldn't take long now. She was the type who panicked when her schemes began to unravel. She'd run out of options soon. The moment she realized she wasn't going to control the narrative, she would come crawling, begging for some twisted mercy. But she'd find none here. I picked up the pen resting beside the papers, turned it over in my hand. A small, simple weapon in a war of betrayal. One stroke and it would all begin to close. Before I could sign my part, another thought gripped me. Evidence. Not because I needed it, I had more than enough, but because I wanted it. I wanted to see it all. To confront every filthy detail she had tried to hide under her smug little smiles and late-night work meetings. I unlocked my laptop and pulled up the files my private investigator had sent me. He was thorough, meticulous. Worth every penny. There she was. Her face, her body language, too comfortable with him. Too familiar. His hand on her lower back, her lips brushing his ear as she whispered things I didn't even want to imagine. Hotel check-ins. Receipts. Photos of their cars parked side by side at some cheap, sleazy motel. I clenched my jaw so tightly it hurt, but I forced myself to keep looking. To burn every image into my memory so I'd never be fooled by her mask again. Then, like a sick twist of fate, there was a video clip. I hesitated, but only for a second. I clicked play. Her voice filled the speakers, laughter that once filled my home, now a sharp knife in my gut. She was in my car. My car. With him in the passenger seat, mocking everything I had built for her. We could take this to his place, she teased, her voice dripping with venomous charm. Not like he'll ever know. The audacity. The absolute shamelessness. A dark, cold calm settled over me, more chilling than anger. I closed the laptop softly, set it aside, and finished my coffee in one long swallow. There was no going back from this. No room for hesitation, no space for pity. It was time to move. The first step was simple. I called my lawyer again, not even waiting for him to greet me. Send her the papers, I ordered. Today. You got it, he replied, no questions asked. He knew the gravity of the situation. He heard it in my voice. Next, I took out my phone and composed one final message to her. No anger. No emotion. Just clarity. Check your email. We're done. I hit send. Done. No explanations. No pleas for truth. She didn't deserve that courtesy. The rest of the day passed in a blur, a controlled storm of action. I changed every password. Canceled every shared account. Froze the credit cards. I made sure she couldn't touch a single thing that didn't belong to her, and soon, not even the things she thought she owned. By nightfall, I stood at the front door of the house, keys in my palm. I didn't lock it behind me. She'd need to come and collect whatever scraps were left of her fake life. I wanted her to step into the shell of the home she had destroyed, to feel the emptiness her betrayal had carved out. As I walked away, I felt something close to peace. This wasn't just survival. This was rebirth. And I wasn't looking back. Not for her. Not for anyone. Only forward into the fire she thought would consume me, but would, in the end, consume her instead. This wasn't just the end of our marriage, it was the burial of every lie she had ever fed me. Every fake smile, every false apology, every time she had looked me in the eyes and swore I was the only one. My chest tightened, not with regret, but with something darker. Satisfaction. I reached my car and slid into the driver's seat, gripping the wheel with both hands for a moment before starting the engine. The familiar purr of it beneath me was a small comfort in the chaos. I took one last glance at the house in the rearview mirror. It stood there, cold and hollow, stripped of meaning. Just bricks and wood, no longer a home. I didn't look back again. The drive felt like a silent exhale, like my body had been holding in a breath for too long and was finally releasing it. The roads were quiet, the sun beginning to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows over the city. I let them swallow me whole. Halfway across town, my phone buzzed on the passenger seat. Her name flashed across the screen. I didn't answer. She tried again. And again. Desperation had a sound, and it rang in those calls like a shrill, pathetic echo of her shattered control. When she finally gave up calling, she switched to messages. Please, can we talk? It's not what you think. Don't throw everything away over a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. The audacity nearly made me laugh out loud. Misunderstanding? Was that what she called bringing another man into our bed, parading him around in my car, giggling like a teenager while stabbing me in the back? I silenced the phone and let it rot in its own quiet desperation. She had made her choices. Now she could live with the consequences. My destination wasn't random. I knew exactly where I needed to go. There was a small, private storage unit on the edge of town, a place I had rented a week earlier when the storm clouds first began to gather over our life. Call it instinct. Call it survival. Whatever it was, it had saved me from total ruin. Inside the unit were the remnants of my future. Not the future she had poisoned, but the one I would now build from the ashes. Important documents, backup drives, a suitcase packed with essentials. Everything I needed to start over, untouched by her deceit. I opened the unit, flicked on the overhead light, and stood there for a moment, breathing in the stale, dusty air. For the first time in weeks, I felt grounded. It wasn't just about leaving her. It was about reclaiming myself. Methodically, I began to sort through the boxes. I wasn't running. No, this was a retreat to higher ground before the final strike. Because the real blow was yet to come. My private investigator had given me more than just proof of her affair. He had uncovered the financial betrayals too. Hidden accounts. Secret withdrawals. Money funneled to places she thought I'd never find. But I had found them. Oh, I had found everything. As I packed the evidence into a secure folder, a dark satisfaction curled in my chest. She had dug her own grave, and I was going to bury her in it, legally, completely, and without mercy. When I finished, I locked the storage unit and checked my watch. Almost midnight. My phone vibrated again, not with her desperate attempts, but with a new message from my lawyer. Papers served. She's officially notified. Perfect. I started the car and drove away from the unit, this time with a destination even clearer than before. I wasn't going home. That place no longer existed. I was heading to a hotel, a clean slate where her shadow couldn't reach me. The night air was cool against my skin as I stepped out of the car. The hotel's neon sign flickered, casting pale light over the entrance. I checked in under a name she would never guess, paid in cash, and made my way to the room. As I closed the door behind me, I exhaled deeply and let the weight of the day settle into my bones. I sat on the edge of the bed, stared at the city lights beyond the window, and allowed a grim smile to pull at my lips. She thought she could control me. She thought she could shatter me and walk away unscathed. But she underestimated the fire she had kindled. And soon she would learn that when you play with fire, you don't just get burned. You burn everything to the ground. She thought she could control the narrative. She thought she could spin her lies so tight that I'd suffocate inside them. But now I was breathing freely and she was the one gasping for air. I laid back on the hotel bed, staring at the ceiling. My mind wasn't racing anymore. It was calm. Sharpened. Like a blade freshly honed, ready to cut through the final ties that bound me to her chaos. Tomorrow would bring the storm to her doorstep. The divorce papers were just the beginning. There were the financial disclosures. The asset freezes. The restraining order, yes, my lawyer had already drafted it. I wasn't just leaving her. I was erasing her from my life, piece by poisonous piece. She had underestimated me so completely it was almost insulting. But it worked in my favor. She thought I'd be too broken to fight back, too devastated to think clearly. What she didn't understand was that betrayal didn't weaken me, it awakened me. My phone buzzed once more. A final gasp from her, clinging to the wreckage. "We can fix this, please, I made a mistake." A mistake. No, slipping with a word was a mistake. Leaving the stove on was a mistake. What she did, that was a calculated, relentless choice, one she made over and over every time she invited him into our life, into our home, into our bed. I didn't respond. She wasn't worth the breath it would take to type. Sleep came heavier than I expected, like my body finally gave itself permission to rest after weeks of torture. No nightmares haunted me. No visions of her face, no echoes of her false apologies. Just silence. Sweet, absolute silence. Morning broke with pale sunlight seeping through the curtains. I rose, showered, and dressed like it was any other day, but it wasn't. Today, I finished what I started. First stop, my lawyer's office. We sat across from each other, going over every detail of the strategy. The power had shifted, and I could feel it in every word we exchanged. No longer the hunted, I had become the hunter. She'll try to play the victim, my lawyer warned. Let her, I replied coldly. I've got the truth on my side. Next, the bank. Her hidden accounts were now frozen, the flow of her secret funds cut off at the source. Every dollar she thought she had squirreled away to cushion her betrayal was now locked tight, under my control. Third stop, her lover's apartment. Not to confront him, no, I had no interest in wasting my breath on the man who'd played second fiddle in her sick little game. But the legal papers were delivered to him too. He wasn't going to slither away from this unscathed. Consequences. For both of them. By midday, the wheels were fully in motion. My lawyer kept me updated in real time, and with every message I received, I felt lighter. Freer. Finally, the inevitable happened. My phone rang, a different number this time. It was her mother. I let it go to voicemail, then played it on speaker. Her voice, trembling. What's happening? She's hysterical. She says you're ruining her life. Please, just talk to me. Maybe we can fix this as a family. I deleted the message without a second thought. There was no family left to fix. She had shattered that all on her own. As evening fell, I stood by the hotel window watching the horizon burn gold as the sun dipped out of sight. I felt no sadness. No bitterness. Only clarity. She had taken everything I gave her, my trust, my loyalty, my heart, and trampled it underfoot. But what she couldn't take was my strength. My will to rebuild. And that's exactly what I would do. From this moment on, my life was mine again. No shadows of her deceit hanging over me. No chains of false promises weighing me down. I turned from the window, picked up my packed bag, and walked out of the room without looking back. As I stepped into the cool evening air, I realized something profound. She thought she had destroyed me, but all she had done was set me free. And I would never ever let anyone cage me again.